Hello, welcome back to Lumps of Life. My name is Jared Lumsden, and we are back with Ambika Devi. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me here as a guest.
Thank you for coming on. I'm very, very excited. I've kind of went on this journey of just, I guess healing myself to an extent, like learning all of these different things about my body, my brain, my soul, and the way our world works, or trying to figure out the way that this universe works, this whatever this thing that we're in. And reading your profile got me very, very excited because you have been essentially working in this for 45 plus years. And your current work is a rebel anthropologist, which I have so many questions about. But can we start a little bit by just kind of explaining to the listeners who you are and what you do? And then we will dive into my 100,000 questions that I'm sure I'm going to have.
I love this. I'm Ambika Devi, everybody. And I have been working and creating at the intersection of mythology and science for a very, very long time. And these play out in a lot of careers. I'm that person who has many different things going on at one time because I'm a serial, and I'm saying serial entrepreneur and solopreneur. I think one of the most important things about doing that is owning it. Be careful when you're freaking out when it seems like nothing's in your schedule. And with the idea of what I'm doing right now and rebel anthropology, that's me being curious about what it means to be human. Sure, I have a lot of things to say about this. However, I am forever observing. And that right there, the word observation is key because the philosophy background that I come from is called Advaita Vedanta. This is one of the paths of study in yoga. Now, I know a lot of you think yoga is stretchy pants and really bendy people, but what it is flexibility in observation, thinking, and processing, because yoga is one of three sisters. They are three daughters of the Vedas, and Advaita Vedanta, Veda Anta. Anta means the end of the Vedas. So after these books of science of life, that's what the Vedas are, came to an end, then Advaita Vedanta is processing them and understanding them. And so these three daughters are yoga. We know this word. Ayurveda. Some of you may know this word. And Jyotisha. Maybe fewer of you know this word. Yoga is for the mind. It's for the purpose of meditation. Ayurveda is for the physical relationship, not just the body. Although, yeah, I have a book called Unfolding Happiness, which is an introduction to Ayurveda. But Ayurveda also covers a broader field of not only what are you putting into your mouth, but what are you digesting through thought, through experience, through your environment, through the media you're eating up. And this is really important in today's world with
Yeah.
cell phones and all the stuff that we are bombarded with. And then there's Jyotisha. Jyota is light, the science of light. Jyotisha is actually the science of relating to the cosmos. And you said, where are we? What are we
Mhm.
in? Where you we're on a giant rock floating through a huge cosmos,
Yeah.
right? But Jyotisha is astrology. And I love that yoga has become more mainstream. Nobody's freaking out and running away. Well, I can't say that nobody, but yoga is more acceptable. We see it in gyms. We see the posture practices. But what about the meditation practices? What about the voice practices? What about the breathing practices? These are so, so important. And then Jyotisha is, what am I doing here? Who am I? What did I come to be? Right? It's not saying your fortune is told and this is all you get. It says, here, little soul spark thing made of stardust. This is a little magic bean pouch that you came into this lifetime with, and these are the things you get to learn from.
Yeah. So a big portion of what I wanted to talk to you about falls directly with that, with the looping thoughts. You had made a post about the looping thoughts, and that I feel like that ties in directly with everything you just said, with what you're putting into your body, what you're thinking about, the way you're speaking, what you're consuming. The more I do this, the more I realize everything is trying to pull your energy away. Everything's trying to take that down. I haven't done a podcast in a little over a month, I think. I just hit a little turbulence, hit a few different snags, and kind of pulled myself back to recharge. It was becoming a stressor, it was becoming a negative thing. And I was like, okay, I need to pull myself back and get myself kind of back calibrated. And all of those things, with the diet, with being in the gym, with sitting outside and just quiet with my feet in the grass and being able to just sit in the sun and not have any sort of dopamine sitting with me. I don't have music. I don't need to be scrolling through. I've actually gotten rid of all of my social media for that reason, because all of it continued to make those looping thoughts more and more negative, and essentially trying to, I guess, speak them out over and over again as they came up, helped me kind of see the patterns in each of them and help me kind of understand how powerful all of this stuff is, how you can speak over your life. If you're constantly saying, I cannot do something, you're right. You're probably not going to be able to do that thing. That thing's going to be very, very, very difficult until you switch that mindset. But that's how I operated with everything, was negative. It was, I have to go do things. I have to get out of my house. I have to go this. And I was poisoning myself with food. I was poisoning my brain
Mhm.
with all of the different social media, with all of the different TV shows, sports, politics. It's kind of like what they talk about in the Bible, the forbidden fruit, that we basically can't handle all of the information at the same time. And it was like, yeah, this is a lot to handle. And then you back away from it and you just go sit outside. Like last week, I went through a spurt where I just built a fire almost every day. I just sat, and if I
Mhm.
needed to do work, if I needed to do anything, I went to the gym, came home, and then built a fire, put my feet in the grass, and just sat outside and enjoyed the sun. And doing that instead of doom scrolling on Twitter looking for something that's happening, or it was just making me consistently negative. And that was a big portion of what I wanted to talk to you about, is how these loops, they're there for a reason. They're there to teach you things always, but it's so hard to see in the midst of it sometimes, to kind of pull yourself out of that. Is that a pretty common thing that you run into with, like, helping with these loops?
Are you human?
Ah.
Yeah, first of all, wow, a lot of what you just shared is so poignant. I want to address several of the things that jumped for me. First of all, the fire.
Mhm.
We, as an astrologer, even if I'm not an astrologer or you're not into it, we know that we just came into the year of the fire horse.
Yeah.
So honoring the fire element in the traditional Chinese astrology, which is where that comes from, and then branches out into all of the Asian forms because there are different forms of it. We've got
And
elements. For instance, I was born in the year of the earth pig. So I really can relate to anything where using nature is part of grounding and healing and
oh,
recalibrating. And my name, Ambika Devi, that was given to me, she is one of the aspects of the great mother goddess. And if we look at divine as just one thing, and if we think and stop separating ourselves from the fact that we are all part of that great big jewel, and there are many, many different facets, and we might relate to one that's shining towards us. So Devi means goddess, and
Ah,
so Ambika goddess, Ambika is a name, and she's seen as the new moon or the dark moon or the one who gave birth to the qualities of nature. So I could totally relate to using nature as a healing nectar, a healing balm to recalibrate with. And then the question or the observation of what is called in Sanskritam, which is Sanskrit, that's how you say it. I'll use English, but sometimes I will give you the Sanskrit pronunciation,
yeah.
is vritti. Vritti are mind waves. So that's why I lovingly laughed and said, "Are you human?" or asked rather, because what I want you to understand, and this is one of the tricky things about Advaita Vedanta, and this is why not every yogi chooses the path of this study. As a matter of fact, I've been studying with a monk, a Chaitanya, at the ashram where I received the name Ambika Devi, and we just started a new cycle of the Who Am I course, which is studying Advaita Vedanta. And whenever we begin a new cycle, our Chaitanya, Rukmini Chaitanya, gives us a moment to introduce ourselves, our background, and, what the heck are we doing here? And at Shivananda Ashram, where this is coming from, and the particular location, because there are ashrams all over the world. This one is the Bahamas near me in sunny Florida, easy to get
Mm,
to. And thank goodness for Zoom, or we would be completely disconnected. Uh,
yeah.
Now, when I introduced myself the other day, I told the little story of how I met Swami Vishnu Devananda, Swami Shivananda's disciple, who started the Bahamas campus. I met him when I was about 8.5 years old, and he was with Peter Max, a very famous artist who did beautiful psychedelic art, and his art was made into animation that appeared on the Sonny and Cher show. I'm really dating myself age-wise, which is cool with me. And I was obsessed, completely obsessed. My mother took me to an art opening. There was this little dude, not much taller than me. I was tall in first grade, everybody, but now I'm the short one in the group. I'm just 5 feet tall, and Swamiji wasn't much taller than me, and he came out finally with Peter at the art opening because a lot of people had given up, and he was wrapped in what looked like a toga to me, and they had just been doing a puja, a ceremony to bless Peter and his artwork. And the fact that this was when he was really launching, because this was at a little art gallery. I mean, he became world famous. And my family was humble. We weren't really high level financially. Going to an art opening at a gallery doesn't cost anything, but I very much wanted a painting. I wanted something
Yeah.
big, for my bedroom wall. My mom lovingly said, we can't swing that. We can't afford it. And there were little books, and I was allowed to pick one. They were $1.99 each. Later, I collected all four and an extra of the one I picked. And the one I chose was called Thought. That shows you right there that this yogi who reincarnated into this persona of Ambika Devi was placed in a family, like the yogis say, when you've got lifetimes of practicing this stuff, you get an opportunity. You land in a family where you're going to be given opportunities that will give you the road highway so that
Yeah.
you can study this stuff more. And I chose the book called Thought, not Love, not God. What's the other one called? Power.
Ooh.
And they had the words. I have them right here on a bookshelf. They have the words of Swami Shivananda, uh, and the artwork of Peter Max. And every night I read that book. That was the thing I read before I went to sleep, the book on thought. And
Oh.
one of my favorite pages, the information, the words of Swamiji. of Swami Shivananda are thought is the architect of the mind. And that has just stuck with me. Now, when Rukmini Chaitanya introduced me the other day, I didn't tell the whole story. You all are lucky listening. I just said I met him at an art opening, but I refused to sleep on anything else that were not Peter Max sheets, and they had pictures of stars and Saturn. Saturn happens to be the planet that rules my chart astrologically. I didn't know this stuff at the time, but I can go back and I can connect the dots. Aquarius, Saturn rules Aquarius and also Capricorn in traditional astrology. Astrology is the merger of mythology and astronomy. So I did get a degree later in astrology. I studied Western astrology. That's what I got the degree in, which is based on the tropical zodiac, Earth-wise, which is using the equinoxes and the solstice points. There's this whole discrepancy debate that some people like to get into about, well, but that's not the real progression of everything. We blacked out for a second, but we came back.
Maybe
But
the storm. It's
that
storm
was
pretty
just on
hard.
my end. Hopefully. Mm.
Oh,
Yeah, it could be. Just pause for a moment so we don't lose
I'll say
anything.
it
Um,
looks like we're still running on my
so
end. So,
I, yeah, we're fine. We're fine. Um, so I had this relationship. I remember so much from early childhood. I actually remember being in my crib. Not everybody remembers
oh, that's
that.
fascinating.
And I know I have an incredible memory, and it's really something I'm grateful for. So there were so many moments early on. And what I was saying when just a moment ago, there's tropical timing, which is used in Western style zodiac horoscopes, what you see in the papers and magazines.
Mhm.
There's sidereal timing, which is used in Jyotisha traditionally. I've studied both. I have a degree in tropical astrology from a university. I studied for more than a decade with different experts on the Vedic style of astrology. I studied with an expert who used the whole Vedic mythology and rule system with the tropical zodiac, which would drive a lot of people nuts. And I have my own style, and I don't need to get into the debate anymore. My feeling about anyone who gives information, whether they are a health practitioner, a psychological practitioner, a spiritual practitioner, a shaman, whatever, as long as they're helping and the information is
Absolutely.
soothing and sending you forward, I'm good with it. With astrologers, there's no need for a debate. Chinese astrology, I've studied. Mayan astrology, I've studied. If you understand the system and you can get information from it that makes sense, go for it, right?
Yeah. Well, and I feel like that's how everything in life should be. If like we're all asking questions and looking for the answers by default, you inevitably are going to find some things. If everybody wants to be right and it just needs to be my point of view or nothing, and you're not willing to learn from these things, then it kind of like falls. And that's why I think societally we end up in the world we end up in. It's that ego kind of takes over in a lot of cases and becomes way more of the reason, and that like I want to win rather than let's all figure it out. Maybe like who cares,
Ooh.
race, religion, thought process, we're all human and we're all here for something, so why not figure it out together rather than constant negativity. And then you kind of take a step back and look at the way most of everything we consume is designed to almost make you feel negative, make your brain not work in the right way, not make you think for yourself. And it kind of locks most of society in the loops that we were talking about, where you
Mm,
don't believe in these things. You don't like I don't know. It's really hard. And obviously, like living in Indiana in a smaller town, you see that a lot with just like the thought of marijuana or psychedelics in Indiana is still illegal and
Oh,
still
Florida
a
too, Florida
very
too.
like looked down upon thing. And then I've connected with a bunch of people that use this stuff as medicine, and
Right,
it's a completely different thought process. It makes your brain think a little bit differently, yet alcohol and cigarettes are just fine and commonplace, and you can do the research. They show you
right.
what it does to
Well,
you, and it
how
it
about
makes
this though? Because this goes back to that Ayurveda thought of everything you're consuming. Because we can look at a food product on our shelf that's commercially
Mhm.
produced in the US, and we can look at the same product in the UK, and it doesn't possess all the chemicals,
It's so
right?
frustrating, and they
So
have
with
the
things
ability to do it.
I know, it's I mean, I love my tea creamy.
Mhm.
And I make my own coconut milk, soy milk combination. I know that either is not great for everybody because I taught holistic health at the university level for 21 years in 3 different
Y
states. So I have a free video, everybody. If you want to watch it, you can get it on my website, or my YouTube channel, and I'd love it if you would subscribe. There are a lot of plant milks out there. But if you read the package, what the heck do we need with guar gum? That's what's messing up the gut biome.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like I
and
buy
that
powder and put water in it. Why are we paying for water for things
well,
like laundry detergent? I mean, we could
y
go on in this, but the
oh, the
thing I want to make the
dyes and
point of,
everything.
yeah, but you mentioned ego just before, Jared.
Mhm,
Ego is part of the mind. The mind is external. The brain is a computer processor.
mhm,
So back to the idea of vritti, which are the mind waves. The mind is feeding us thought. We're noticing it, witnessing it, processing it, reacting to it. And up to that point, everything's for free.
mhm,
Everything is human. What causes pain around thought and past experience is because the thought that shows up may be a memory, and then we're looping the same
mhm.
thought, the same thought, the same thought, the same conversation snippet. And that causes pain, that causes PTSD. I am not
Yes.
downgrading or discounting the idea of post traumatic syndromes at all. But what I'm saying is, as a meditator, I have learned, because I've been meditating since I was 6 years old,
Mhm.
I have learned there's a thought. Oh, there goes one. And Neil Donald Walsh talks about this in one of his books, and he is a great stepping stone for people who come from very traditional spiritual backgrounds, because he wrote the Conversations with God series. I took a course with him when he wrote Awaken the Species. Awesome book. I highly recommend it, everybody. And
Awesome.
it doesn't matter what your background. And what he made us do for a month, 30 days, every time we noticed a thought of an object, there's a chair, we had to stop, stand still, and say out loud, there goes one. I'll tell you what, if you could do that practice for an hour, I challenge you, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what vritti is. And in yoga, we have Patanjali's Sutras, which is one of the main books. Yogis hopefully read and study these sutras in Sanskrit, or at least are aware of them. I like Swami Sachtananda's translations of things like Patanjali and the Bhagavad Gita, because he was a hippie. He was one of the Shivananda lineage with Vishnu Devananda. Vishnu Devananda was his teacher. And he has a way of describing things that don't freak you out and don't put you to sleep. So I give that to a lot of crossover people, or people that just need something a little bit more fun, because the Mahabharata, which is where the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita come from, which is where an avatar, if you like the idea, and we can think, and if that word avatar makes you think of animation, go for it.
Yeah.
When a speaker of the divine is describing, I am everything. You know, you are the I am everything. When we can stop seeing ourselves as separate and
Mhm.
we can see the divinity in all of us, which I think a lot of the spiritualities are trying to teach us and encourage us, you know. You are God, but that's a hard one for everybody to accept. But then if we're trying to get everyone to love everything and love everyone, then what happens after that sermon and you get cut off coming out of the parking lot and
Y
you flip the bird at someone? That is
yeah.
not loving everything, because we have to love the ugly too.
Well, and I'm convinced that the reason a lot of this happens in society is because everyone hides the ugly. It's
Mhm.
not a societal norm to, like, you see that with a lot of, like, Facebook and all these other social media where you don't get real life, you get the
Mm.
highlight reel, and then you have people psychologically comparing themselves, trying to keep up with the Joneses, and it's all just this competition to show everybody that you don't have problems. Then you walk out of
Ooh.
house with your mask on and pretend everything's okay. Nobody's posting, "Me and my wife had a really big fight today, and we may not make it." Like, it's not what you're
Oh, they
seeing. You're
are,
seeing
they are,
the
they're
well,
doing
yeah,
that too.
there are those people that will do
They
that,
definitely
but
do that,
for
and
the
then
most
there's the
part, I feel like a
haters.
lot of
I had a
people.
hater yesterday,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm laughing
Oh,
about it
see, I'm
because
to the conclusion that yeah,
check this out,
well, you're
Jared.
doing what's
I
right
made
for
a
you.
comment on
Let's
a pair of comedians. There are these guys on Instagram called Lionfield Music, and they're Italian guys, and they talk about pasta and food and pizza, and they make music, little comedy music. And if you're desecrating pizza or breaking your spaghetti in half, they're funny. So they do commentary on other people's stuff with comedy, right?
okay.
And so they were looking at an Indonesian woman eating pasta with an egg on it, and it's not Italian style, right? So the one is saying, you know, maybe their thing is approved or not approved, right? When they're watching this stuff, they're against pineapple on
Okay.
pizza. And I used to deliver pizza way back in the day. You want to put whatever you want. If you're happy with the pizza, I'm happy with the pizza, because there's a happiness factor in food, but not an addictive happiness trigger. That's
Yeah.
different. So I made a comment about, because I'm a nerd, everybody. I'm an uber nerd. I can talk about the spiritual stuff until you can't take it anymore, but I can also talk about the neuroscience. You want proof? Go to my site, click on the link that goes to my academic paper. you
And
know,
what a hell of a way to back that up too of like, "Hey, yeah, you can say that it's not real, but I got, like, this behind it to say that I'm
Exactly.
also
I mean,
looking
I've
at
been
this
working on
aspect."
PhD research for almost 13 years. Go ahead,
That's
try me.
amazing.
So, yeah, it will be amazing when I get the title. If, I have to let it go, I have to laugh about it. So, I made a
Absolutely.
comment because I read this book years ago called Along the what was it called? I think it was it Along the Noodle Trail? No. It was written by a food writer. It was a novel. Please forgive me. I will have to look it up, but I don't want to take the time now. And this writer went on a journey along the Silk Road. And some of those areas are dangerous. I don't care what culture you come from. We're still talking, people, ninjas coming at you. But she went to this museum where the world's oldest known noodle is housed in a glass case. And I was fascinated because I'm a
Yeah.
foodie. I love food, and I love good, healthy food. And I make a lot of it myself, everybody. So that's what's on my Instagram and
Oh, I love
nature,
that.
because everybody in different social media does different stuff. Anyway, I made this comment about the world's oldest noodle being made from millet. I said, let's go back in time. And it was just a little comment. Someone took the time to find out who I was, go to my Instagram page, go to my website, and send me a private message through my website saying my face was ugly and that was Indonesian food. I'm like, I was talking about the
Oh
world's
my
oldest
gosh.
noodle. It's like,
It
if you say pasta, that's a
yeah.
noodle. And I thought this is hilarious. So
And I feel like
I
there's
told
just
a friend and they're like, "Way to go. Somebody took that
you
much
made it.
time to go through that many steps to anonymously send you a note." And I couldn't find them on Instagram. They
Yeah.
didn't comment back on the comment I made. They actually went on a journey to come at me and tell me my face was ugly. Okay, that's your
Uh,
opinion.
yeah. I'm so convinced that, like, again, that shows so much more about that person than it ever reflects on you as a person. Like, there's so many people out there that will take that much time out of their day. They have that little going on in their day that they could take that amount of time to go through that many steps just to make that comment, and it's like, "Yeah, cool."
That blew
That's
me away that
yeah,
that you actually went to my website? You
that's a
clicked on my links?
that's a wild level of sadness, I think, that, like,
It's a
you're just that
yeah.
unhappy in your life, but I think that's a lot of what we're talking about as kids. I'm very convinced
Oh,
that
the
we
bullying.
well, the bullying, but I'm convinced that we know what we're here for. I'm convinced that as your inner child, you know what you're here for. You're full of joy, you're having fun, and you have these wild ideas before life beats the hell out of you and tells you that you're not good enough. You can't do these things. And the more that I've learned these things, that, like, just speaking out anything, the pain, the trauma, like being very observant of my bad habits, of things that, like, you fall into those modern day sin or the temptations, whether it be in any of them. You just look at the seven deadly sins and you can kind of look through your life and
Right?
go, oh, hey, I'm doing pretty much all of those. That's probably not good.
What
And the
happened
more
to
that I
love your neighbor in that one?
yeah, it social media has made it to where everybody, I think, is competing. If you're
But the
not
thing
doing what
is, this
you
person hid behind their truth,
yeah,
and it gave me the opportunity to love the ugly.
yeah,
There's an example, everyone. I could have shut my page down. I could have gone into the dark, crawled under the sofa, got really depressed. I could still have it hurting me today.
yeah,
But instead, I thought, you know what? This person needs love because we can only feel and experience the height and
yep,
level of love from others that matches the height and level of love we have for ourselves. And that is not ego. That's self-esteem.
absolutely.
That's self-esteem is the invisible bone structure of your energy body.
Mhm. And that being not being yourself, I feel like, kind of destroys that when you're constantly lying or doing wild things like that and being mean to people for no reason. I think that fractures that, and you don't feel yourself. You feel that internal thing, and kind of stripping away the lies, stripping away your bad habits, stripping away these things that don't make you authentically you, and finding those things that do make you authentically you. You start bringing in the right people, you start drawing in the right things, the right opportunities, the right habits, and life kind of unfolds that way. But the more you lean into
Okay.
that opposite way, the more I feel like it feeds back into you also.
Definitely.
So
And oh, go ahead.
oh, you're fine. You go ahead and finish your thought, because I was going to jump
Oh,
to a
no, no,
different.
no, it's okay. I let's move forward.
Yeah. So I just talking about the astrology is
Okay.
another one that I am fascinated by, because I think that goes a lot with the way that we operate, the same way that kind of animals move to, like, the moon cycle.
Oh, yes.
When I was like, I got into hunting in my late 30s, and now I've had kind of a weird experience, because I shot one right in front of me with a bow, and it basically laid there and died right in front of me and just kind
Shot
of stared
what?
into my soul the whole time.
What did you shoot?
It was a buck,
Oh, a buck. Okay.
white-tailed deer,
Uh-huh.
and I had that experience of, like, normally, you shoot it with a bow, they kinda run down a little bit, and this one went right in front of me, and I just kinda stared at
Wow.
me the whole time that it died, and it was like this
Oh,
weird experience where I was like, "Oh, this feels fascinating," like, but it kinda gave me that questioning of that same thing where, like, "Oh, I get that everything's here that, like, is providing for us," and then but then, like, taking the life of that animal, like, made me question a lot of how I operated with, like, the hunting and everything. And, like, I shot it well, it dropped right where it was at, it just took it a little
exactly.
bit to bleed out and, like, kind of, and it was just that experience of like sitting there with that eye contact with it, and it was like, oh, this is like a being that is staring at me
Well,
right
that's the
now,
point
that
where you
is
thank them. Like, I think when
absolutely.
as you were describing this, I was thinking of that scene in the first Avatar movie where, of putting and this is Native American tribes do this, a lot of indigenous tribal people will actually, Reiki, they'll put their hands on the creature and thank the creature and love with the creature as the creature surrenders themselves from the body but releases themselves as spirit and they merge. It gives me chills even
Yeah,
thinking about it. If you're a hunter and you're using every part of that animal, go for it. If that's your
that makes me
thing. If
feel
you're
better.
a vegan, don't throw rocks at me. I We have to appreciate that there are different blood types and they have different necessities. Not
Yeah, because I
everybody can be a vegan. And I'm even the blood type that would make the best vegan. And still, I'm more vegetarian plant-based. I was vegan for 27 years. Let's
oh
not get
wow.
into the health thing. And the operative word there was. Let's not get into the health discussion. Go watch the 4 keys to a healthy diet. I'm not telling you what to eat, but I'm describing all the reasons why you would make choices. And
Hmm.
it's free and it's not a funnel. And it just shows you, and then you can ask me questions. When somebody comes to me for health coaching, I ask them to please watch that first.
Yeah, it because I love the meat, and I know like the way that I feel after eating it, the way it energizes my body, it's a completely different
Yeah.
thing. Like I can eat a small venison steak, and again, like then you go eat like a fast food cheeseburger. I could eat 7 of
Oh,
those
yeah.
compared to one of these little mini venison steaks, and it's like, what are they feeding people? This cannot be good. But when I was
Right.
out there, I started noticing how much they move in the different moon cycles. There were certain moon cycles where they tend to move differently. There were certain moon
Oh,
cycles
so
where
do
it felt like
we.
I wouldn't see them. And it was like, oh, I wonder if this is how we operate too. You start looking at the horoscope things, the astrology. I actually took and had AI mold the
Uh-oh.
astrology theory and the Bible to see how much they would like intermingle, like utilizing theories from both and letting them almost like intertwine. And it was kind of scarily accurate with the way it would pull down my horoscopes at times, because I would have it like, okay, at the end of the day, I'd be like, okay, give me a gist of what it looks like for this date, and it would basically just give me the readout. And it was there was a lot of times it was like wildly accurate, or I read something that if you
It
type
can be.
in
There are formulas used, Jared. I wrote
it's
I wrote horoscopes for a newspaper for a while, and,
okay.
yeah, there's a formula we use. When
So it
so there's math involved, calculus to be accurate,
got it.
and there's
Okay.
there's astronomy involved and there's mythology involved. So, but be careful because even with an astrologer, they have to be they have to be contemplative. They have to be able to contemplate. Because if we cookbook astrology,
Mhm.
then we're very superficial. AI, which AI? I'm just curious. Which one are you
So
talking about?
I went back and forth. I've used the when I did that when I did the it was the paid Chat GPT one that
Okay.
I used.
Look, do I use ChatGPT? I do. Uh, and as we're starting to see the unfoldment of AI, we can see certain AI is better for research. And I said, I'm
Mhm.
working on a dissertation and it involves Sanskrit and translation to English and research for neuroscience. So
Oh,
going out
that's
and pulling
awesome.
things like that, it's yes, because I'm cross comparing the ancient Vedic information and other ancient writing with modern neuroscience. And that is how I've come to the idea of taming the mind and the voice as medicine. So I will be speaking at a conference coming up. I'm not sure when this show is coming out, but hopefully there will be a replay if you're listening to it in future us time. And I do really look for opportunities to cross compare ancient writing, mythology, and modern science. So if any of you are out there and interested, you've got a stage or a show, just write me a note because, I don't want to just get messages from haters. And I really like love notes.
Yeah.
So the thing is that we have to understand that all of this is moving, traveling, and AI is doing its best to learn. But I play games once in a while with my AI
Oh,
and say,
same.
here's an astrological puzzle. Show me how you solve it. And then I call it out. Nope, you got this wrong. You got this wrong. You got this wrong. So be careful, everybody,
Yes.
because it's not perfect. It's
No,
it,
and
it's it
it'll
is
pander to you
growing like
also.
a child. And for goodness sake, everybody, Jared and I met on LinkedIn. For those of you on LinkedIn, if you are copying and pasting and not rewriting it in your voice, I can tell because I
Oh,
am a
it
publisher. I am an award-winning author. I'm not. Did I get stickers when I was in compilations that I was a ringer writer for? Yes, but bestseller, unless it's New York Times list, doesn't really mean that much, everybody. And the truth of the matter is, stop being lazy. Look at what was just written. I can spot AI writing and syntax from a mile
it's the
away.
punctuation and the wording. It has a
Oh,
few of its tells that it really enjoys using, and it's like, oh, you can see through it. And I went on a spree. I had to back off of it for a little bit because I realized how it just panders to you so much in so many cases where like I got in so many arguments with it because I would go through and type something and then the answer it would give me would you could just tell it was kind of fed a little. It was like, well, is this the real answer or is this why you're telling me this? And it's like, oh, good catch. And it's like, well,
oh,
I
good
shouldn't be
catch.
catching
Yeah.
you. You're supposed to be designed to give me all of the information accurately in an instant. Why am I catching you on things that you're giving me? And then it was like, okay, I have to be very aware. So then I'll go back to Grok and I'll cross check things, or depending on what it is. A lot of it's just I use it as my notepad. I'll go into it and I have a thought and I'm like, ooh, I'm curious about this. And then I'll just kind of go into a quick little thing with it just because I want to read. And that's how I came across, like, I was really into like studying the astrology, the
Okay.
horoscope, because it all seemed kind of accurate. And then I was into reading things about the Bible, equally kind of gave you that same accuracy. And I'm like, I wonder if there's just a piece of the puzzle in all of these different things. What happens when we combine them? So then I went further and I was
Mm,
like, okay, let's pretend that we live in a video game, break the Bible down as if it's a guidebook for the way the game goes. And it just essentially, like, if life goes this way, like this story, this is how you get out of that one. This is how you handle these things. Here are the
mhm.
temptations you're going to fall into. And it's like, oh, maybe we're just taking it too literal and trying to live perfectly when in reality, it's just a guide to tell you how to get out of these loops when you get stuck in them. Does that make any
Cool.
sense at all?
Total. That made 100%
it,
sense. But that you're talking to me, Jared. So
That's why exactly
absolutely.
why I wanted to talk to you though, because it's fascinating to me that, like, as humans, the more people I talk to, the more you hear very, very similar stories, or you'll be going through something in life and you start being open and honest with it in public to someone, and then they open up about almost the exact same thing going on in their life. And it's like, oh, I think we live in a lot of similar cycles as humans where I wonder if, like, like the age of the fire horse. We just got out of the, what was it? The snake was the last one we just came out of.
Isn't that interesting that Year
Yeah.
of the Snake often correlates with elections in the US? I'm just saying. But
Yeah, there's a
That's as
lot
far
there
into that
too.
as I'm going,
We
but
could do a whole podcast on that, I think, because there is a lot
let's
there.
not. I think that was that I I drop bombs once in a while. That
I
was
love it.
an intentional one. Uh, I would like to address the idea of the cross correlation of it all.
Yeah.
Uh, there are the Eastern, Western, mystery school teachings and thoughts. There's a lot to dive into there. But I think it all comes down to the existential question of, and I love that my teacher named this course, Who Am I? You
Yeah.
know, what was my favorite Dr. Seuss book? Are You My Mother? I think that was the closest to Who Am I?
Oh, yeah.
And Horton Hears a Who. I love that one too because it was macrocosm, microcosm, and I think this is what we're all asking is, who am I? What am I doing here? What's my purpose?
Mhm.
And how do I deal with this? That's really what this is all about. And all these different things. I think one of the dangerous things, everybody, that people get into is rebranding, is taking a concept, rebranding it, or taking a concept's title and branding something with it. I'm ever so careful about
Mm.
that when
Yeah.
I'm speaking because I don't want to spill a waterfall of branding possibilities that would then dilute and confuse the truth. I love the ancient. When I was in high school, I studied Chinese. When I studied acupuncture, I studied in Japanese with a Japanese acupuncturist. Astrology is a glyphic language. It's math, it's calculus, it's astronomy. If an astrologer, and I, go challenge your AI, if they can't explain the math to you, then, and the mythology, or if you're unsure, make it. It's all in the prompt with that, and also with ourselves. Do the
Mhm.
research, stop being lazy. And if not, if you don't know who to go to, ask somebody who's a step ahead of you. Uh, I don't want to use the word expert, but guide, right? A guide is
Yeah.
somebody who's saying, come on this trail. Because I used to be a guide. I used to take people to South America. You mentioned, I think it was in the green room when we were talking about herbal usages
Mhm.
of medicine. Medicine, here's the deal. Everything you need to stay healthy is in your kitchen. And if it's not, we need to talk about what's in your kitchen.
Mhm.
Period. And not the drive-through.
Yeah.
So, look, if it makes you happy, there's a happiness factor. But if you're poisoning yourself and you're having difficulties and the mind is not tameable,
Mhm.
then we need to talk about this, and I'm here to help you.
That's for me, that was where a lot of this came into was learning how the more natural that I ate, the better my brain and body function, the more I develop a better relationship with food. I realized I still had a fear of food. I used to be 300 pounds
Oh, wow.
and I was addicted to
Oh,
fast
wow, and
food,
you're
all of
buff.
it.
You're buff
Thank you.
now.
Well,
I
because I
could see
switched.
those muscles.
Thank you. I've switched my addiction to the gym now, and I use
Well,
that
there are
energy
healthy addictions,
from.
Jared.
Yeah, and I was able to pull back from that addiction and utilize it in this way because
Not
I'm
pull
very
well,
aware.
you refocused.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing about meditation. Meditation teaches us to dial in and refocus. We can use, and English falls short because now we've got all these different languages all over the world and we don't necessarily understand each other.
Mhm.
For instance, in English, we have one word for love, but in Hindi, there are multiple words. Love of a child, love of the work you do, love of creativity, love of romantic love. So we have to be
Yeah,
careful with language. That's what the whole story of the Tower of Babel is about,
and that's
because
kind of
that was when everybody understood and spoke one language, and then it fell apart. So, yep, I can talk about the
Well,
Bible
it kinda got
too.
I think it kinda got lost over time. Everything's went into this modern day temptation where if you read the 7 deadly sins, most of the things in our society lead you into that world. Like, I had a moment the other day where I don't even know why I just randomly bought a lottery ticket and won 50
That's okay,
bucks.
why not?
And I immediately had that want to spend some of it and buy another one to double down and try it again. And I had that moment in my head of like, hey, this is that greed. Take your blessing and be thankful that you received that $50 and walk away.
Wow,
That just paid for
50?
your dinner. And it was like, that just paid for your dinner. Take that and walk away and be happy. Cause I've done this before. I would have spent 10 bucks, got another one, lost, and then went home pissed off because I'm like, I should have not done that. And it's like, no, just take the
Okay, but so
blessing.
this was a whole conversation,
Yes.
Jared.
This was
Who
like in the
who
moment.
was talking?
That's exactly what I'm trying to figure out. The highest
Okay, so
version of
wait,
me, I
I'm
guess?
gonna lead you to the answer. I'm gonna lead you to the answer, and this is your
Yes.
initiation into being a yogi, okay? So, what was occurring in that moment? You were noticing there was an inner dialogue, right?
Mhm.
There was first a monologue, right? There was
Yep.
first si who was watching?
S My
Who
highest
was
version of
noticing?
me?
No,
God?
that was the true you. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That was that is exactly it. I'm not even going to go into
Well, because I
Sanskrit.
think that the more
It's the
I've
true
lost the weight.
you. It's the true
Y
you that
Yeah, real
was noticing, and then you had a negotiation, and then you were given an opportunity, right?
Yep.
So there was an action. Bought ticket, won money, right? These were
Mhm.
actions. The word karma means action. So these were types of karma. There's more than one type of karma.
Mhm.
And then there was a reaction. First one's for free. Remember I said that earlier. And then there was re-reaction. That was the dialogue. And then there was choice. Choice
Mhm.
then bears a fruit. The fruit is filled with seeds of karma. You get to choose how you move forward and continue. And that's what you did. You made a good choice. You went and ate dinner instead.
So, the interesting thing is this is what I do with everything now because I have gotten into this point where I started doing it with my brain, my body, and my soul,
It's
where I
not your
just kept
brain, it's with the mind.
the
The brain is
mind.
processing. So the
Ye
mind is the ego is part of the mind.
Okay.
And if we can think of the mind as external, we can start to treat it like a companion instead of something tormenting ourselves inside of our heads. Please
Yeah.
forgive me, Western science, but this is Vedanta, and not everybody gets it, but you're
Mhm.
getting it right now. I can tell you're going, aha, aha. I can feel it. I can
Yeah.
see it in your face. And if you're just listening to the audio, trust me, everybody, but the thing is, if we can start to witness the vritti, the mind waves, was is exactly what you did. You had a moment of being in the state of meditation. Meditation isn't focusing and forcing your focus on something. It's disappearing to the point of being able to back up into the cave of meditation that is actually the pineal area of the brain, the chamber, and witnessing what's going across the dark screen of the inside of the forehead, the IMAX screen of thought.
Mhm.
How does that feel?
Yeah, so I've always talked about it like the old cartoons where the angel and demon would pop up and they're both trying to talk to you
That's the
and you
negotiation.
kind of that
Yeah.
like so I've always looked at it that way, and I feel like as a human, you get that opportunity multiple times a day where something pops up that gives you that opportunity to pivot in a different direction and change, and I feel like immediately that changes your trajectory when you realize those moments and you see them and you choose to go a different way, whether it breaks a generational curse, it breaks a childhood thing, a wiring,
Ooh,
and
careful
it
with the words. Those words are powerful.
ooh,
Yeah,
which
the word
one did
the
I
word yeah, curse. Ooh, I can feel
ooh,
your early childhood kicking in. That's okay
did
though. I mean, we have to put some sort of identifier on it so that we can interact at the point of backing up or to the point of backing up and being the witness.
So
Uh,
what's interesting is that just kind of came out organically. I don't know that I've ever called it a curse
that's
before.
okay,
So
that's
that's
okay.
fascinating that that's what just, like, popped out organically in that moment because I have, like, throughout this process thought, like, "Oh, I'm just cursed, like, this is just my thing," and
No,
then
those are
luckily
choice.
throughout this process yeah, I've gotten
That's
able to
choice,
realize, like, "Oh,
right.
no, this is me causing this is my words, this is my actions," and I just learned that essentially everything that was happening negative in my life in almost every case was caused by something that I was doing, whether it was a reaction to something, whether it was the decision I was making, the way I was thinking about it, the way I was speaking. There was something, it didn't matter if the other person or the other thing could be doing wild, egregious things. I can't control that. I can only control what I'm doing and how I'm reacting to these things, how I'm handling, how I'm processing. And then everything tends to mold around it when I do it that way. If I lose it and I start falling back into that old wiring, I start letting the overthinking kick back in, I start letting little micro things take over my brain, I get back into those negative loops again. And I have to almost like walk myself back out of it of, hey, this is old wiring. This is not real. This is that old bullshit popping up to throw you off what you're trying to do. Just keep moving forward. Let's process it. Let's understand that there's no evidence to support this. This is just some wild thought and accusation in your head right now. And it's helped me, like, because essentially the reason I started learning this was me and my wife. I learned that most of what our relationship was built on was her trying to perform and play a character to
Mm.
make sure that I stayed happy because she didn't feel good. She didn't feel good enough. So I started learning that I was essentially getting these like intuition hits where things would pop in my head and I'm like, "Hey, is this what's going on?" And some of them were things she'd never told anybody and it was like, I have no idea where it's coming from, but like it's wildly accurate and we just kept going through it and the more I kept doing it, the better I kept understanding it. I kept learning which ones were real, which ones were kind of those there to throw me off the trail and put me back into that negative energy. And it all kind of molded together with the physical fitness, making sure that I'm taking care of my body and I'm putting myself through hard things kind of on purpose because it helped me heal my nervous system. Then moving into the diet, the food, that gut brain, like it, what I'm eating directly affects my thoughts. If I'm eating like crap for multiple days, my brain is not working the same. It is working completely different. And then the more that I believe that everything happens for a reason and I'm watching the synchronicities, I'm following along to those gut feelings, the brain, the things that do light that inner child up and feel good, the more it kind of just stacks up those things and keeps kind of guiding in the right direction. So I guess learning that discernment of not letting those ones that aren't necessarily real that kind of pop into, I don't know, it's almost sometimes like God and the devil get to play tennis with you back and forth where they're just kind of like taking their time back and forth beating you. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
Okay,
I guess this is
but Jared, what if the goal is being the net?
ooh. So I've also
Don't I
looked
have
at
the
it.
ability to stop you in your
Oh, I
tracks?
love it. Well, because I've
Right,
also
because
looked at it
here's
like
the
a
thing,
forge
is we
where
can
like
look at good and bad, positive, negative, up and down, angel, devil. These are pairs of opposites. But what
mhm.
if the happiness, the joy, the love is in neutrality, not
Is
in I like it, I don't like it?
so would that go into just essentially like finding that flow and that peace and kind of understanding that life's just going to come in waves and they're essentially all going to
Accepting
be
yourself
lessons?
as you are and the world as it is.
Because I
Neutrality.
started looking at it kinda like a forge, like they're placing you in the fire and you go into the heat, but they
I
pull
think
you
I
out
think
and mold you into
what
a
you're
sword?
doing, these are pairs of opposites though. See,
Okay, same yep.
this is why Vedanta is not everybody's favorite
Ooh,
path.
that's interesting.
Because you yeah, because what it's about goes back to Neil Donald Walsh, and please, everybody, if you made it this far, go check if you're feeling really like I relate to Jared, this woman is, way beyond what I'm feeling right now. That's okay. But go check out Neil Donald Walsh's book, or a talk that he's done on Awaken the Species, because I think it will speak to you profoundly if
Yeah.
if the pairs of opposites is such a whack out there concept. And yogis, if this is not working for you, then read Adi Shankaracharya's book Atma Bodha, the Atma Bodha, because the whole first half of that book is about this. So let me give you, I'm going to use a word that's going to make sense to you, Jared, a parable. Okay.
Okay.
But this is not from the Bible. So in Advaita Vedanta, there are many different ways to tell this story. I'm going to tell it that you're walking across a dark room in your house and you startle because you think
Okay.
you see a snake and you jump, right?
Yep.
And you whatever, however you react, you react. Hopefully you go and turn the light on. And then you see that it's a belt or a piece of rope. You know, if you're a yogi, it could be your yoga strap on the floor. And you laugh because you flip the light on and you see that was first of all, how does snake get in your house? I mean, it's possible. I live in Florida. Fortunately, I've only found them in the garage, but and I have black racer snakes and I'm not scared of them. But anyway, uh, so let's say another version. I'm out walking. It's dark. I like to see the stars and the planets. And if I'm not sleeping, I'm a writer, everybody. So this morning I awoke at 2:30 in the morning and I thought, okay, I'm not sleepy. I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to practice pranayama, some yogic breathing exercises, and then maybe I'll go back to sleep. And after that, I was wide awake. And I thought, you know what? I'll go for a walk now because I like to walk a certain amount of steps every day. Uh, I know the number for me that makes me happy. If 10,000 is your number, go for it. But I have a walk that I do that is if I've been sitting for a long time, and it's about 5,000, but I do get higher in the day. Anyway, so I'm out walking. I see something. I jump, right? Could be a real snake because sometimes I do encounter them. But at this moment, I refocus, or maybe I use the light on my phone and look, and it's a piece of a palm tree. So is it the snake or the rope?
Yep.
Right? The light is knowledge. So whenever we have a reaction, what this is all leading to, everybody, whenever we have a reaction to something and we get into the pairs of opposites, if it's a snake, we usually don't like it, right? That's I don't like it, right? We flip the light on. That's the knowledge, whether we're in the room and it was the belt or out walking on the trail and it was a piece of nature from a tree. That's knowledge. So flipping the light of knowledge on then gives us the opportunity to back up and witness one moment I didn't like it. Now I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Right. But if it's the tennis match or the volley between the good and bad, then the net is neutrality. You see what I'm saying? Did that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that made so much sense. For me, the tennis match stopped when I stopped trying to figure everything out. When I stopped trying to control it, when I stopped looking at it as a negative and I started seeing that, oh, this is for me, not to me. This is something that's happening for me, whether it's taking something out of my life that wasn't meant for me, putting me in the right direction to go where I need to go, whatever the case may be. Having that understanding that even in these worst of worst moments in your life, there is a reason for it, and that it is happening for you, not to you, made me settle that down. And again, like helping with like calming my nervous system, whether that be in the gym with my eating, putting myself through hard conversations, a cold plunge, a sauna. I
Oof.
I go after those. Well,
Not a
every
pairs of
time,
opposites.
yeah, well, every time I do them, you get
But
out and
think
you
of
have
that.
that
Think of
new
that.
mental
Think,
clarity.
think of that, Jared. Sauna, cold plunge.
Mhm.
Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth,
So I don't do
neutral.
those on the
No,
same
but
day.
you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah,
The whole
absolutely. It
Scientific reasoning of that is it brings you to neutral. So
yeah,
where are we? We are,
the
it
net.
doesn't, you don't, that rambling of, my food, the gym, the sad, the blah, 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 blah. No, accept myself as I am
Yep.
and the world as it is, the world around me.
So,
Neutral.
okay.
There I
So,
go
yep.
again. Everything,
No,
every object, every thought is all of the same stuff.
and whenever
I
I'm
am
going
that.
into that world
I
of
am the most
yeah,
powerful phrase in any spiritual practice. I can say the I am phrase in a lot of different languages. I am that I am. Popeye, right? Eat some spinach and
y
realize I am that, right? That,
so rather
and
than
we could
me
say thou art
obsessing
that, right?
and I assume that's where I've gotten myself in trouble in the past is obsessing
It's
about
okay,
those
but
things.
we got this word trouble. Just tat tvam asi. That I am. Period. Let's just, I think we should end it
That
there.
I am, period. I think that's perfect. We yeah, because we're right over the hour anyway, so that is the perfect spot to end this. Thank you so much for joining me for I love these conversations. I love being able to just like go into the wildness of the world and learn from people. So thank you so much for your time and hanging out and everything. So hopefully we get to hang out and do it again.
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you so much. And thank you for
Thank you.
listening to the end, everyone.
Absolutely, and if you want, please promote anything that you have or where people can find you.
Awesome. Well, I've got 6 books. You can find them at my website. That's where you can find Unfolding Happiness. I mentioned it earlier. I've got my 7th book in production right now, and it's
Oh,
talking about feelings. So it's the new sister to Unfolding Happiness. And Unfolding Happiness is an introduction to Ayurveda, a little bit of cosmology and meditation. So if you're taking a step on that path, and I would love if you would read it, uh, or any of my books. I've got a blog there. I've got videos on my YouTube channel. Please connect with me on social media and find me on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you choose to circulate. And also, please write me a message on my website, make an appointment for a coaching session. I help people with pivots and advise on writing and publishing because I am a publisher. So there are any of the topics that we just talked about. There are free lessons and courses on my website. And then if you want to continue on and study with me at an apprenticeship level one-on-one, I'm more than happy to. You want to bring me to your stage or your show, just send me a message. Please be brave and reach out. I would love to hear from you at ambikadevi.com. And if you're just listening, that's AMBIKADEVI.com. And I'm sure Jared's going to put links in the show notes for you.
absolutely. You are awesome. Thank you so much for joining me and giving me so much time, and I appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your day.